You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. The Conjuring.
Hello, welcome to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. I am not Paul Farrell, I am Anthony Yee. My voice automatically sounds a bit different to what you're used to. Anyway, I am lead surgeon Anthony Yee because this is a special guest podcast for The Conjuring, which had nothing to do with Wes Craven. So we're doing this because, from our point of view in time, The Conjuring Part 2, or Conjuring 2, is coming out very soon, and thought we'd look into this movie as a little special one-off. Joining me today is a special guest surgeon, Paul Farrell. Am I saying that right?
I like to pronounce it Farrell, actually.
Hello, Paul. Hello. So you're on the other chair. I'm in the lead chair.
This is odd. I'm in the other chair today. You're the big cheese.
I'm the big cheese. I'm gone to cheddar. from Old English to cheddar.
So I can take all the stress out.
You can talk shit.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it.
That's what the rest of us did. Okay, let's get straight into The Conjuring because it's a movie that's got an awful lot of moving parts, and we should get into it. So, The Conjuring starts off with, I feel, the signature James Wan, because he directed this.
Yes.
Australian, good old Aussie. Good on you, James. Signature scary music overture that basically goes, and that's he loves doing that. Then we actually did this really interesting thing. I call this the James Bond moment. Because James Bond, you see them at the tail end of an adventure.
Yes.
Go into the credits, and then you go into the actual main story.
Cool.
So here we have a close-up of a doll. Yeah. Which at this point in time in history, no one knew what it was.
No.
But it was called Annabelle.
And at this point, now reflective, looking back, we probably wish we didn't know what it was.
Oh, ouch. Ouch. Some of the comments were reflected by some of the people who hadn't. Yeah, but that particular comment was. So we're in 1968. And two people are interviewing two flatmates, two girls who are surgical nurses, I think they are. And some guy on a couch who sits next to them and does nothing. Yeah. You don't know who the fuck he is, he just sits there. So they're being interviewed by Ed and Lorraine Warren. Warren. It's a tough word to say. And you soon get the impression that Ed and Lorraine are experts in spooky stuff.
Yep.
And they're asking these nurses, tell us about this rag doll. And the nurses say, essentially, that they were getting some spooky messages, and some spirit of a 7-year-old girl is hanging around the house, and they said they can inhabit this doll. And Ed basically does the PG equivalent of, what the fuck did you do that for? According to Ed, I was basically like leaving a loaded gun around the house.
Yeah.
So that was a really stupid thing. And then they go into this little adventure where you see spooky things happen.
Yes.
Around the house, and as they recount stories, firstly, they come home, and there's a little note on the floor saying, did you miss me? Or miss me?
Yeah.
Written in crayon, and it's kind of implied that the doll wrote it.
Yes.
And then something else happens. Well, in the middle of the night, that's right, the two girls are sleeping.
That's it.
And there's a big thumping noise or something.
Yeah.
And the doll's torn up the house.
Lots of shadows and stuff. We need to mention the shadows.
Yes.
Because
good use of light.
Yes.
Which happens later on.
He's very good at that as a director. At
very good.
That kind of style. And it's a bit of his signature. And he's doing this to great effect at this moment in time.
So basically, more freaky stories happen. The girls are so freaked out, they throw the doll out of the house into a dumpster.
Yes, that's right.
That's right.
And then, yeah.
And then, they wake up in the middle of the night because some stagehand is smacking the door. And this is classic. This is great horror because no CGI's happened, no gory effects. It's all the classic stagehand pulling something off screen or hitting something off screen. And obviously, this is done in post anyway, but it's just really atmospheric and creepy. It doesn't take an awful lot for me to step back and realise this is a bit silly. It's a doll that won't miss me on the wall. But in context, I remember seeing it in the movie theatre with the noise and the 5.1 digital surround sound. It was very scary.
Yeah.
So the doll effectively knocks on the door, and it's come back inside. And it's a very clever shot. He does this. It's come back inside because they hear it not coming from behind a closet. The girl opens the closet, but you never see the doll. You just go off her reaction.
That's right.
And you join the dots. So he's done a very good job of setting up this action. And also, too, Annabelle is a classic James Wan look. Because if you remember Dead Silence as one of his early films.
That's right, yeah.
He really got into puppets in that film.
He said puppets are a big
thing
with
for him.
too,
Yeah,
obviously with Jigsaw as well in the Saw franchise.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, so Annabelle the doll is in the same family of nightmarish puppet makers that he seems to really like.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, Annabelle's based, because the Warrens, we might as well say, are based on a real-life couple.
Yeah.
Ed has passed on. Lorraine's still around, I think.
I think so. I think you're right, yeah.
And they were famous paranormal investigators from the 70s. Annabelle was a real story that they investigated, but she was a rag doll. The real Annabelle looks nowhere near as scary as Annabelle in the movies. So that's something you can Google and check that out. So, end of the story is they basically, end up doing some sort of ritual. They take the doll back to Ed's trophy room. He has a trophy room.
I was going to say that you get that kind of reveal. Again, it signifies what you were saying, that Lorraine and Ed have been doing this for some time. They're experts in their field, and it's supported by the fact that there's this trophy room that he always takes an item
back
home with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, after the conclusion of this adventure, there's a little full-frame graphic that says Ed and Lorraine are real-life paranormal investigators. And they've investigated thousands of cases, but of all the cases they've investigated, they've never revealed the details about this one until now, implying that it was so fucking scary they didn't want to talk about it now.
Yes, that's right.
So then we cut to 1971, Harrisville, Rhode Island. Paul, tell us what that place is like.
Oh, yeah, well, being a native Englander, I couldn't tell you.
Great. So it's really lovely. It's in the basically, it's ripped straight out of Amityville. It's middle country nowhere. Not country nowhere, but it's a very...
So my geography of the United States is shit, right? So, what I know of the United States and horror is basically Maine because of Stephen King and Salem because of the witch stuff. So tell me, where geographically are we talking about?
It's in Rhode Island. Is that somewhere near where Peter Griffin... Yeah, it's New York, where Peter Griffin lives, Boston. Because Rhode Island.
Now I'm with you. Okay, so leafy...
Leafy. And they actually have their backyard leads out to a big lake with a dock. So it's a water view.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right, you're right.
And a big scary tree there.
So,
but the actual the actual lakey part, that'd be worth a lot of money.
Yes.
But you find out later they bought it from the bank, and so they didn't get an access to the history, which I think legally a real estate agent would be obliged to tell them. Some weird shit went down there.
So is this a good point to mention similarities to the Amityville horror?
Yeah, go for it. I found there was a lot. Yeah, go.
I mean, is it... I haven't really kind of done much research on this film, but was Amityville horror tied in with the Warrens at all, or is this a completely separate?
The Warrens, I think, did do an investigation,
right?
But I think Amityville was mid to late 70s.
Okay,
and this is right on the cusp of 60s, early 70s.
Okay, right. So just time wise, yeah. Okay, cool.
But I think there's something in the zeitgeist because that's been a proven thing, as like the guy who wrote the book, The Titan, and then 12 years later, the Titanic happened. There's some sort of scientific phenomena where things happen that have no relation to each other, but they're very similar.
Yes.
And I think this is a period where people still believed, by and large, that paranormal and ghosts were basically real, or people weren't out to sort of go... Like these days, you'll have a fair chunk of the population will say, it's bullshit, it's not real.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, nobody sort of said it wasn't real, but nobody ever said it was real. It was kind of thing where it's accepted, okay, haunted house, don't go near it.
Yeah.
And Amityville was the most famous example, because I was around there as a kid. I remember it just swept the world, that story.
Yeah.
And I think it's in the zeitgeist, shit was happening. So, Harrisville, we meet a family, and only some of them are named first off, so I'm not going to name the ones that weren't named, I'm just going to name the ones that are named. It's a family, it's a father, a wife, and he has 5 daughters.
It's 5 daughters. Because I was looking at the IMDb going, who the fuck was she? I don't know who you were. There's some obviously that stand out more than others of the daughters.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons that you'll go into. But
yeah. Well, it was one of those things where if this was a script, the first thing the studio would say is, can you lose 2 of the daughters? Because you don't need them. But because it's based on a real life thing where people fucked like rabbits and were Catholic, I'm guessing. There you go, just insulted a fair chunk of the audience.
Oh my god,
Well, that's the thing too. People had big families back then, by and large, compared to now.
Yeah, it was, absolutely.
I'm saying to the guy who has 7 kids, but okay.
What?
What?
Where did the other 3 come from?
So we have the father's name is Roger. They're from Jersey. The oldest daughter's 17. You get the impression she's like on the edge of high school, end of high school.
Yeah.
Her name is Andrea.
Yes.
When it was first mentioned, I thought it was Angela. For my notes, she's called Angela, but she's Andrea. Then you have Nancy. She's the dork. She has glasses.
Yes.
Then you have the middle child, whose name is not revealed, but she has a bit to play in later. The fourth child is Cindy, and she is Jessica Chastain in Interstellar.
Yes,
Murphy.
Yeah,
Murphy. Murph. So we'll call her Murph from now on.
Yeah.
Then you have the little kid, April. Okay. So
Yes.
they've moved here. You kind of get the impression that this is a big move for them for reasons that will be revealed later. The kids muck around in the house. They play a game called Hide and Clap. What's it called? Is it Hide and Clap? Is it Hide and Clap?
Hide and Clap it is, yeah.
Yes, Hide and Clap.
So
which is, yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
I'm going to just stop you for that moment because my first the first point that the Conjuring fell into my periphery,
Yeah.
and I was aware of his existence was seeing the trailer,
Yes.
and seeing that there is that kind of bit with Lily Taylor doing the hand clap bit, right? But my question is not my question. My point is that when I saw that, my reaction was this movie looks shit.
Yeah.
And I've been proven wrong in the case. I've gone on the record saying
that.
that what's the one that's Don't Breathe? I've gone, that looks shit. and at the moment it's sweeping, everyone's going crazy about it. I'll probably go along and watch it and go, that's fucking brilliant.
But that's the thing about horror. It is such a thin line. More so than comedy. Comedy is that classic thing of like, it's not funny, it is funny.
Yeah.
But generally I find those moments are less than horror. Horror, you'll get people just go, that's fucked.
Yeah.
Particularly when you take it out of context, which a trailer which goes for 2 minutes is
That's
always
the
out of
thing,
context.
isn't it? It's hard to judge.
It's very hard. It's so easy to remove yourself from the moment because a guy with an axe-wielding chainsaw, a guy who's wielding a chainsaw is just not real. So it doesn't take a lot for you to step back and go, that's just ridiculous. Why is he wearing a hockey mask?
That's right.
But in context, if the director's done a good job to sweep you up in the moment, then that thing is fucking terrifying. Yeah. So no, I 100% agree. I remember at the time thinking, that's really cool, but at the same time, it doesn't take a lot for somebody to go, that's really shit. And of course, I got your email straight afterwards going, that was really shit. So yes, no. But anyway, Hide and Clap, for those of you who don't know the rules, are they blindfold, one of the girls blindfolds, the 4 girls blindfold the other girl, and then they go hiding, and that girl who's blindfolded has to find them, and she gets 3 claps. She yells out, clap 1, they got to clap.
That's right.
It's like Marco Polo, but without water.
That's right.
So mucking them out doing hide and clap, they discover one of the girls hides in one of those doors underneath the stairs.
Yes.
And she gets bumped, and she knocks a partition wall that actually hides a stairwell to the cellar, which they didn't know they had.
Yeah, that's right.
The father opens up the cellar, goes downstairs, and realises it's really huge and spooky, but full of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool, because they could probably cash some of that in. So they've got a cellar they weren't aware of.
Yep.
Very much Amityville. Boom.
Yes.
He goes down the cellar. He leaves a set of matches there, which is relevant later on.
Yes.
Okay, so first night. So any haunted house story, you have the progression of the horror.
Yes.
So you have the first night. Now, traditionally, the first night in a haunted house story, not a lot happens.
No.
But something odd happens.
Go
that
on.
is only odd in hindsight.
Yes.
Right. So good Paranormal Activity was a good one. The first night they recorded stuff, the door moved a little bit.
Yeah.
So in this movie, the first night, what happens is the dog, they have a dog called Sadie, is losing her shit. She doesn't go inside.
Hey, wait, so was she the cleaning lady?
Yes, she was. As a dog.
I may edit that out because that was a shit joke. Yeah, go on.
I'm getting an insight as to how annoying I am and Paul does his podcast. Anyway, so they have a dog who, when they first showed up into the house, refused to go inside.
That's
because
right.
the dog always knows.
Yeah.
And that night, the dog is just barking himself and won't shut up. They leave it outside. Boom. And that's it. That's the only weird thing that happens. The first morning, though, Mum wakes up and notices that the clock downstairs, the big grandfather clock downstairs, has stopped at 3:07.
Yeah.
And the clock in the kitchen has also stopped at 3:07.
Yes.
The house is cold.
Yes.
The oldest daughter, who plays the role of bitching teenager, because the oldest kid in any story where they've got to move house, the oldest teenager is always put out by it and she's always complaining.
Yeah.
Oldest daughter, Andrea, said it was cold and she smelled something that felt like bad farts. Smelled like bad farts during the night.
Yes.
Also, little girl April runs outside because she wants to feed Sadie, and Sadie's dead.
What?
So again, the dog. It's always you got to get rid of the guardian if
Yeah.
you're a demon or whatever.
That's
the dog and the cat, or in this case, a dog knows.
Or the fish. Sometimes the fish.
They kill the goldfish. They do kill the goldfish in Poltergeist.
Yeah.
And the canary. Well done. So, and this is another movie that I draw a lot of parallels with, is Poltergeist.
Yeah, the original. Say the
The
original.
original.
Yeah.
That's true. We saw the sequel, and that was shit. The original.
Spoilers!
Which is weird, because the original was set in 1981, so it comes afterwards. How's that work?
Yeah,
I know, weird.
Bizarre.
So, okay, so storytelling-wise, we come back to Ed and Lorraine. Ed shows off his trophy room, and he's been interviewed by a reporter about the trophy room. And
Look at my trophy! How they shining!
I call it the trophy room because all of
right.
it's full of objects from past adventures,
Yes.
and they are objects that demons or whatever have used as conduits into the real world.
Yeah.
The reporter naturally says, "Why don't you destroy them?" And he says it's better to keep them in place, like keeping loaded guns off the street. So that's why I don't destroy them. It just conveniently looks like he has a trophy room full of really
Don't
cool
you
shit.
think that's an odd thing for a character to do, though?
I think it's really odd.
Like, if these are all portals to another world, like you're saying, that would be hiring some
A
crazy
lot of
shit.
firepower.
We're talking like Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Yes. Good
trap
good
kind of-
analogy. They're
Yeah.
running out of room.
Yeah.
His house is like spook central in terms of psychic forces.
Yes.
But hey, once a month he gets a priest to come in and bless the place.
That'll work.
Yeah. In terms from a skeptic point of view, I think
Yeah.
it's a brilliant thing to do because it suddenly becomes an object of desire. This fabled trophy room, to get inside it, and the first thing he says to reporters, "Don't touch anything,"
Yes.
because bad spirits aren't airborne viruses apparently.
Yeah, right.
Why don't you? Anyway, so you can't touch anything. So automatically that gives a whole sense of, ooh, okay, yeah. We have, we find out that they have a housekeeper, which is again called Georgiana, Georgiana? Yeah, that's what I got. It's a weird name. But we later reveal that she's in fact the grandmother. So I thought she was a housekeeper. But she's the grandmother.
right.
They live
Okay.
they live the grandmother. They have a little girl whose name is later revealed to be Judy. And Judy's not allowed in the trophy room.
That's right.
We also reveal that Lorraine at this point is not very well. And the reason why is that you get the impression something has happened
In the past.
in the recent past that
Yes.
has knocked her off her feet.
Yes.
So she's like recovering from a really bad flu.
Yes.
So, okay, so, night 2. We're back at night 2 now in the house.
Ooh.
So we now have a license for more weird shit to happen. Weirdest shit to happen. Nice tracking shot of Sadie's grave, the dog's grave, as the establishing shot of the house. We track through Sadie's gravestone.
Yeah.
It's a little 2 sticks with Sadie and a dog collar on the sticks.
Yeah.
Weird.
It is Georgiana, by the way.
It is Georgiana.
Right, I've just looked it up.
Well
yeah.
done, thank you. Okay, so 3:07, clock stop. Now we go to the fourth girl, whose name is not yet revealed, but it's later revealed to be Christine. Christine.
Christine.
She smells something really bad in the bedroom that she shares with the nerdy girl,
The farting one.
the farting one, and she accuses him of farting.
Yep.
The other girl's kind of half asleep and says, "Don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah.
Then her leg gets pulled.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, by some
right.
unforeseen force.
Yeah.
Then we cut to a television screen, which is now past the closing point in the night, so it's just static.
Yeah.
Nice Poltergeist homage there.
Yeah.
Even though, Poltergeist didn't own static on TV, but every time you see static on TV, it's the Poltergeist moment.
Yeah.
Sleepy Dad is sleeping in his study. There's lots of bills on his table, so visually you get this implication
Yeah,
that
hard.
he's under financial times. He also has a empty bottle of whiskey or scotch. So again implying visually that
Yeah.
there's a bit of pressure on
Much
Dad.
like the Poltergeist father was
Yes.
like that too.
That's true, yeah.
There's all alcohol.
He hears a noise and creaking door leading out the back. He closes the door. There's more banging upstairs where we find Cindy, Murph from Interstellar, is a sleepwalker.
Ah, that's right.
And she sleepwalks into her older sister Andrea's bedroom, because Andrea only is the one sister who gets a bedroom to herself.
Yeah.
But at the end of Andrea's bedroom is a really big closet.
Yeah.
Like Narnia closet.
It is.
And Cindy is sleepwalking and banging her head steadily on the door. It's creepy as fuck.
Is it that?
Yeah, who's that? But Andrew's not freaked because you get the impression this has happened before.
Happens a lot,
Cindy's
yeah.
a sleepwalker.
Yeah.
So they then take Cindy to bed, saying go to bed, boom. And that's night 2. So
Cool.
the creep factor's come up a little bit. Weird things have happened, but
Yep.
nothing outright scary. Next morning, Mum notices she's got some bruises
That's right.
on her body. And that's one of those bruises, as we all had, where you don't know you have them because they don't hurt.
Yes.
But they look weird. And how
Yeah.
do you do that? But so they think, okay, that's just a odd thing of their mad, passionate lovemaking because they christened the house the night before.
Yeah.
We discover that the husband in Roger is a truck driver. And he goes out to go in his truck to go to work. A pigeon flies straight into the window of the house and kills itself.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Pigeon...
What's that got to do with?
Birds kill themselves. That's something that's happened in a few movies. It's a weird trope to have.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like, does that mean or imply that the house has this energy around it that kills
birds?
I
got the impression...
I don't know what I'm trying to say. But
I got the impression it's like a beached whale. It throws birds off their radar for some reason.
Yeah.
And they just got to run their head right through the house, which this pigeon does. Anyway, so it's the next morning. The four oldest girls are school age, and they go to school.
Yes.
Leaving April behind to be with Mum because she's not quite school age yet.
Yep.
April is talking to an imaginary friend in her bedroom.
Yes.
And she tells the imaginary friend she does miss her dog Sadie.
Yeah.
Mum comes in and says, "What are you doing?" I'm talking
Captain
to
Howdy.
Yeah, there you go. And you want to sing, Mum? She goes, "What do you mean?" Well, and then in front of April has found a music box, which has a flip top. You flip open the top, and it has a mirror. You wind it up, the mirror spins, and she says, "You look at the mirror, and you'll see the boy over your shoulder through the mirror reflection."
Yes.
Gets Mum to do it, and it gets its tension set up.
Yeah.
And the girl goes, "Boo! Haha! Scared your Mum." And then Mum goes, "Oh, okay, haha." And then she says, "Mum, can we please play hide and clap?"
Yep.
Which, being the youngest girl, she doesn't play all that often. So Mum goes, "Yes, okay, fine, we'll do it." So they do the 3 claps. Mum blindfolds herself. She goes, first clap, second clap. She has the third clap coming from Andrea's bedroom.
Yes.
She goes, third clap, and we see, whilst the mum walks into the room still blindfolded, the cupboard door's open, and these 2 hands come out and go.
Yeah.
And so the mum goes, "Okay, I know where you are," goes to the closet, reaches in the closet, there's nobody there. She takes off the blindfold, and the little girl reveals herself to be in another room because she walks in and goes, "Hi, Mum, you took your blindfold off, you cheated." And so the mum goes, "What? How did that happen?" If it was, so she's freaked out.
Good.
Yeah, it was a nice little moment. So again, ratcheting up the tension and weirdness, but not outright scary just yet.
No.
Then we go to night 3, we're the third night. Hubby comes home. That's when we really do discover he's in financial dire straits because he's on the phone to his boss.
Yes.
And his boss has asked him to do a huge haul down to Florida. I don't know how far that is from Rhode Island.
It's going from like north to south on the east coast.
Well done.
Thanks.
But he's doing it at half his rate, so clearly he's like, this guy's in financial straits.
Yep.
But shit's about to get real. Because in the middle of the night, Christine, the girl whose leg was pulled, actually smells a bad smell.
Yes.
But her leg gets pulled, but it gets pulled so forcefully, she almost gets pulled right out of bed and wakes her right up.
Yeah.
And that was not funny.
No.
Tells her sister, Nancy, I think that's not funny. Nancy, then she realises on the other side of the room, dead asleep. It couldn't have been Nancy. Yes. So that's okay. So then she does the classic looking under the bed trope.
Yes.
But this is done okay because from under the bed, from her point of view, upside down point of view, she sees the bedroom door start to open. It's already open, but it's starting to open more.
Yes.
And that's when she freaks out. Wakes up Nancy and tells her there's somebody behind the door.
Yeah.
Nancy wakes up half asleep, half awake. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Goes behind the door and says, "There's nothing here."
Yeah.
Turns back to Christine and says, "What are you talking about?" Christine loses her shit at this point, saying, "He is right behind you."
Yeah.
And then the door suddenly slams, and then Christine loses it, screams. The dad wakes up, who's not really in the mood for these sort of shenanigans, kicks down the door. What's going on? Nancy's bawling her eyes out. There was something behind... so Christine's bawling her eyes out. Nancy's still kind of like, I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah.
She said there's a person behind the door. The father looks behind the door. There's nobody there. Christine blubs and says, "I heard a voice." The voice says, "I wants to kill your family."
Yes.
So this kind of puts the family on edge. Again, the sister Nancy just doesn't know what's going on, but Christine believes it's 100% real. It's a nightmare. It's not a nightmare, even though they said it's a nightmare. This is a scene that we talked at length with Enzo Tedeschi in another podcast about how superbly well it was done, because there's nothing there. There really is nothing there.
Yeah.
It's just shot into shadow. You're looking at shadow, and your imagination takes over. So it's done very well. Thoughts?
Oh yeah, look, this was definitely like the big turning point, and I know that we've mentioned how already at the head of the podcast of how the use of light and shadows is something that he excels at. This is a fine example of I would say all of his work thus far.
Yes,
where he does it perfectly.
Yeah,
and like we were talking. We mentioned in I think in another podcast as well about the Woman in Black and how the reason why that film was so good is the way that you essentially make a corridor scary. Who was it that said that you could do that?
Yeah, Terrence Dick from Doctor Who said you can't make a corridor scary.
Right. Yeah. So, and here's another example of that. It's a corner of a room essentially, but. Yeah, he does it in a way that you are literally on, and it's that whole kind of teasing things up because we've already seen the first instance of it the night before with the leg pull, and then we get the double fold of that, here, and then to follow it up with quick succession. The history of in order to make a really successful horror movie, it's almost like making the perfect orchestra score. You have to hit the right notes and beats at certain times, and at the moment, he's doing this really, really well. This is the first point where you would have the signature crescendo kind of coming in if it was a musical term.
That's a good point.
I was paying full attention at this point.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good analogy. Okay, cool. So stakes are risen. People are tense now. Yeah, properly tense. So we cut back to the Warrens, who have been given a case by Father Gordon. Father Gordon is their agent to the demons. Father Gordon has a case. They go to a couple whose house is haunted. Ed doesn't want to take Lorraine. Lorraine will go anyway.
Yes,
she's like, we're a duo. We're meant to do this together. They reveal that the ghost in this particular house is fake. Yeah, it's expanding and contracting floorboards in the attic is making a certain noise.
Yeah,
and they make this telling statement that the majority of cases they investigate are in fact explainable by science. Very rarely will they actually come across a genuine haunting.
Which is similar to, and I've forgotten the name of the show, but the big American kind of haunting show where there's two guys that go around, one's bald and one's not bald, and they're called TAPS, TAPS.
Okay.
Something and psychological something or other.
Oh, okay.
But it's also they got into the profession because they were actually plumbers.
Oh, right.
And a lot of their stuff that they debunk is pipes because of that. And that's the first thing they do when they go in and investigate is to rule out any kind of internal house kind of noises that could be making that kind of thing, which is always kind of cool to watch because the guys on the point, and invariably at the end of the show, they say, "Well, we have or haven't been able to debunk it."
Right. Okay.
And in the case where they say we haven't been able to debunk it, as in they've done all their tests, and despite all that weird stuff has been accounted for that they can't, justify it, then they say, "Well, the only logical solution is that this house is potentially haunted."
Right. So this is a reality show, not a drama.
It's a reality show.
Right, cool. That's good.
I forget what it's called.
That's a good pitch. Taps is good though.
Taps is good.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Okay, now we cut back to night 12. So we had that scene to sort of place an interesting sort of, I guess, to show that they're not complete kooks.
Yeah.
And they look at the world from a rational point of view, which is interesting when you compare them to the real Warrens, but we'll talk about that later. But also, it was a beat to sort of relax us. Before we get into night 4, shit gets really real. That's what I wrote down.
Keeps getting real.
Mum is at this point taking iron deficiency pills, so clearly her doctor said these bruises that because she's getting more and more bruises.
Yeah.
Unexplained. It's probably an iron deficiency thing, so she's taking those. She's folding laundry at 3 a.m. because she's a mother of 5 and her husband's always out, so fair enough. She hears somebody giggling and playing clap.
Yeah.
Blindfold clapping things. She's like obviously a bit pissed off, saying girls it's too late to do that. She goes to all the girls' bedrooms, all 5 of them are asleep.
Yep.
She then goes to the top of her stairs where they've hung up all these pictures and portraits along the stairwell wall.
Yeah.
They all come crashing down in an almighty noise, wakes up none of the girls. And then the clock strikes 3. Then she's hearing some odd noises around the house, which is kind of montaged by one jump cut, implying that she's been doing it for 7 minutes.
Yes.
And until she finally hears definitely somebody clapping in the basement.
That's right.
It can only be somebody, not her, not the girls, or not her husband, so she's automatically thinking there's an intruder in the house.
Yes.
Instead of locking the door and calling the cops, she actually goes downstairs to investigate. Screams down the basement, I'm going to lock you down there until the cops call. Something pushes her down the stairs.
Yes.
As she recovers a bit dazed, a ball that she found when she first went down to the basement gets thrown out behind a chair and rolls towards her. So, clearly implying that there's somebody down the basement.
Yes.
She runs upstairs, the door slams, and the light bulb down in the basement explodes, and so she's trapped in the dark. But the father left a bunch of matches there, so she takes the matches, trying to light them. It provides fuck all light. It just makes it even creepier because there's now light and shadow coming out from under the basement. She doesn't see it, and then she hears a little voice going, "Do you want to play hide and clap?" And from behind, over her left shoulder, comes these pairs of hands and go, freaks her out, and she loses it, and she drops the match and goes to dark. So that's the moment from the trailer, which I admit, to me, this is the gateway thing for all of us when it first came out. As the moment that a lot of people found scary. Paul Farrell thought it was shit. But it's done very well. And then, at this point, Andrea, the oldest daughter, wakes up to find Cindy, Murph! Again.
Are you going to do that every time?
I'm going to do it every time. Banging her head. I could have just banging her head on her closet. And so Andrea's now like, okay, hear this again. Wakes up. Well, doesn't wake up. She grabs Murph and says, look, come sleep with me. It'll be okay. So Murphy turns around, sleeps with me. As she puts her to bed, the door opens, and causing her to turn around. She walks to the closet to close the doors. Nice cutaway shot of Cindy suddenly coming, because she's now in Andrea's bed, sitting upright like a ghost, looking at the top of the closet. Andrea sees this, looks at the top of the closet, and there's a witch. Like a demonic, crazy witch lady. Scary moment. First genuine scare of the entire film.
She goes, alright.
And Andrea's like, oh, shit. Except the witch goes, alright, how you doing? Alright. So anyway, witch jumps on Andrea. Physically jumps on her. Of course, she loses it. She screams. Cindy screams. The whole house is screaming. Just as the husband returns home in his truck. Comes home to a screaming house at 3 o'clock in the morning. Kicks open the door. What the hell is going on? And goes up to Andrea's room. They first finds the wife, pulls her out of the locked closet. They hear Andrea screaming. They run upstairs. They find Andrea struggling against an imaginary witch, because now the lights are on. There's no witch anymore, but she's just losing her shit. Father's just finding a house full of hysterical women. Okay, cool. So, what did you think about that?
Oh, look, you know, it's again kind of it's going up a notch each time, you know, and the scare factors are equally going up. It's good in the way that there's something I want to make a note of here, with the entities that are kind of scaring the residents of the household. You quite rightly said you got to get rid of the guardian, the dog, and the father's not around. And you go for the weakest member, which was the youngest, second youngest kid, the one that
sleepwalks. Is second youngest.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So, who's the one that's getting their leg pulled?
That's the middle child.
That's the middle child.
Christine.
So it's interesting. It goes for the younger one,
usually,
and it's pulled essentially the mother away. To then attack. The next the next one, which is like as a predator would. So this is what I found really interesting about this point is that it feels like it's a very clever entity in the sense that it wants to, if it's supposedly trying to kill them off, you go for the weakest.
You divide and conquer.
Exactly, and that's what it's doing here, and that's what I found really, really cool about this man.
So and then it is, because he's earned it, he's gone through 3 nights of tension. Before you get to the 4th night, which is the actual first genuine scare, first physical proof from our point of view as a viewer that there's something that's demonic and spooky. And it's done very well. It was a real jump popcorn moment in the air. Boom. So, what do you do at this point? You cut back to the Warrens next day. They're giving a lecture at a university where they show film footage of an exorcism they did that went kind of wrong. Talks about through the 3 points of our possession, which is infestation, oppression, finally possession. Are the 3 steps. It just leaves itself open for piss taking. I couldn't think of examples, but it'd be like, I don't know, bedwetting or obesity, hungriness, horniness, and finally. Anyway, so in the audience is the mum. And cut to Ed and Lorraine. They're in the car park packing up their gear after their lecture. Token Asian guy, who I call him that because it's a James Wan film, so on your James, represent. Token Asian guy who's called Drew. We don't find that out until later on. Introduces the mother, whose name has not yet been revealed, to Ed and Lorraine.
Okay.
And the woman actually says, when she introduces herself to Ed and Lorraine, doesn't say, hi, I'm Caroline, which is her voice.
Yeah.
She just says straight away, there's something scaring the hell out of my kids.
Yeah.
They're a little bit like... You got the impression, again, they're quite exhausted, particularly Lorraine, drained, but they will do it because she is generally scared. So the next day they drive out to their place. She meets Roger and Caroline at the front door.
Yeah.
Ed and Lorraine go hi. They look. They meet them in the foyer. You see a look on Lorraine's face where she's looking at the husband, and she gives what I call the Miles look, the Miles Davies look. And I'll explain what that is later if you've been listening to some of our other podcasts. But Lorraine suddenly has a beat where she looks a little freaked, but she's trying to hide it. Then she meets the 5 little girls.
Yeah.
At this stage, it's been revealed that the family live all downstairs. They sleep downstairs.
That's it.
They don't sleep in their beds.
Yeah.
They all look really tired.
Yeah.
Because they're not getting much sleep, obviously.
So how much later is this from
I think,
night 4?
I think this is a little while later, like a few nights later. Because by the stage, and again, this is very similar to Poltergeist. When Poltergeist, when Carol Ann gets sucked into the TV, and they go to paranormal investigators, they tell all these things. The house does this, the house does that.
Yep.
It's very similar. They said birds fly into the house. If something happens at 3:07, all the family portraits get knocked off the wall, so they just keep them down on the wall.
Yeah.
They always hear 3 knocks at night, and the 3 knocks, Ed reveals, is the demons making fun of the Holy Trinity.
Oh, right.
And there's always a rotten meat smell that moves around the house. So at this stage, Lorraine does the big psychic walk around the house. We find a really nice, happy photo of the family taken at the beach, which is relevant later on. It's something that it's just a lovely photo, and she comments it's a lovely photo. But anyway, she keeps running around the house, takes a psychic reading. Husband says, "What do you think?" And Lorraine says, "Something really, really bad happened here." They then have the consultation in the kitchen table with the folks saying that this place is probably possessed by it's possessed by a number of spirits, but one in particular that's quite angry. And they're like, well, okay, let's move. And then the old classic TV movie horror house trope, you can't... their analogy is like stepping in gum, someone sticks with you. So wherever you go, it'll follow you around. Which is the major plot point of Paranormal Activity.
Yes.
Because that's, I think, a very good movie and genuinely scary. About halfway, you're like, get the fuck out of the house, but they refuse to do it. Because they get told once that it will follow you no matter what. My logic being, well, I don't care what you tell me, I'm going to try and do it. Because clearly staying in this situation is not working. But they tell the parents, you got to do something about it. It won't leave you. At this point, we find that Caroline's name is Caroline because the husband does a recorded interview with her. It says, I'm with Caroline Perrin. Their name is Perrin. He asks her a bunch of questions about the house. Boom. And that's relevant a little bit later on. Lorraine talks to little April and tries the little mirror box trick, the little music box.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so the girl says, if you look in the mirror, you can see the kid behind you, and she tries it. And Lorraine actually does see a little boy over her shoulder, but it's not really that freaked out. It's a freaky moment. But Lorraine's kind of used to seeing spirits. She's like, oh, okay. That's when we also get revealed that the family bought the house at auction from a bank, so they didn't know much about the house's history. And Ed and Lorraine say their professional diagnosis is that the house needs an exorcism, which is not an easy thing to do because they need to get permission from the Vatican to do so. Lorraine basically then reveals that a dark entity has latched itself physically to the family. That's why she had the Miles Davies moment. She doesn't look... When she first met the family in the house, she didn't look directly at them. She looked over their shoulder. If you ever know fellow podcaster Miles Davies, he tends to do that because he sees ghosts. So they also... what happens here next? So, that night at the Warrens, Judy, the daughter, goes. Her mum tucks the daughter to bed. Judy says she's bought a necklace to give to her mum, which has a picture of her in it. And it's a nice little present from the daughter to the mum. So Lorraine has that around her neck. That's sort of relevant later on as well. At this stage, and it's getting quite late, the husband is going through the tape recordings that he had with Caroline, and he reveals to Lorraine that Caroline's voice did not record. And that's spooky.
So when you say just to clarify, when you say the husband, Ed, talking about Ed. Because there's 2 husbands.
Ed, Lorraine. Ed and then Lorraine. So Ed, at this stage, is going through the recorded tapes he had of the family. finds out the mum's voice did not record. That's weird.
Yeah.
Then Lorraine is doing research on the house, because the internet was around back then. No. And revealed that basically, way back in the oldie days, a woman called Bathsheba married a guy who owned that house and still surrounding properties.
Yes.
She sacrificed her kid as an offering to Satan.
Yes.
The husband caught her. She ran outside and hung herself on the big tree that's outside near the water, which is also, I think, when Lorraine first went there, she sees.
She kind of, you don't see what she sees, but she stares at the tree, doesn't she? So she's like swinging legs. Up. Yeah.
Back in the 1930s, later on, a mother also killed her child. And that child is later to be revealed the kid in the music box.
That's right.
Yes. And he's the one who wants to play hide and clap.
Yeah, because he's fun.
He's fun though. And also it's revealed that all the surrounding properties, which have since been bought by other people over the years, have had one tragic accident or another happen to somebody who lives there. They're theorising that because the spirit has ownership of these properties, and that's why she's making bad shit happen to these people. Okay, so as they're discovering this, 307 hits in the Warren household, and the tape recorder starts playing automatically, and you can now hear Caroline's voice, but it's just drowned out by demonic screams on the tape recording. How scary is that? So we cut to the next day. The Warrens are now brought back up. They've bought, again, this is another homage to Poltergeist, because now they've brought in assistants. Token Asian Drew, who's their technical support, is IT. I find that funny. I'm saying this because I'm Asian. Don't write in. And also, they've got a cop called Brad. Brad Hamilton is a police officer who helps them out.
Yeah, right.
To arrest ghosts. It's kind of explained why he's there. But
yes, good point, actually. Yeah. Odd.
They then set up ghost traps around the house, and I love this sort of shit.
Or maybe it's because if things aren't like, for argument's sake, so say it's not haunted and it's crazy people. Yeah, they've got a cop on hand to
sort of do something. Also, legally too, a cop is a witness.
That's true.
When things go down.
So
anyway, they do a montage of sending ghost traps around the house with recording devices, which is, again, to me, it's very Poltergeist. Recording device, films, microphones, and all the houses. They set up cameras that trip off if something walks in front of it that lowers the temperature. So the cameras with a thermometer attached to it. They do this really nice montage where they set on a 360-degree pan in the middle of the house, and you see Drew setting up in all the different rooms. But in one of the shots, as the pan happens, the actual line, the edge of a door frame gets a bit fuzzy because the effect didn't quite line up right.
Yeah.
So have a look at that. It's really interesting. So they've set up all these ghost traps around the house. Drew flirts with Andrea, the oldest daughter.
Yes.
Because Asian guys can flirt with white women if the director's Asian. Just had to put that out there. At one point, the only one of the few comedy relief moments is at one point they hear the door to near the cellar open, and it's Brad using the door next to it, which is the toilet.
Yeah.
And so, very funny. So that night they have their first Poltergeist homage scene where everybody's hunkered down, all radio mics ready to go, waiting for something to happen. Ed puts up a bunch of crosses around the house.
Yes.
Because he'll say that'll piss off the demons.
Yes.
The cellar door does indeed creak open. They investigate. It's 9:18 p.m.
Yes.
So they go down to investigate. They kind of go to the spirit to say something, do something. Nothing happens.
Yep.
They walk out the cellar door. It slams shut. Boom. So that's kind of weird for them. 3:08 ticks over. Nothing happens. Ooh. So nothing's happened that night.
Okay.
So the next morning, the family are in happy spirits because they feel that with Ed and Lorraine coming over and their entourage, they kind of have help.
Yeah.
And so for the first time in a long time, they're having laughs at breakfast. It's sort of a happy energy vibe. The dad says, I'm going to take her way out for ice cream. Asks the mum, Caroline, if she wants to join them. She says no, she's tired, she wants to get some sleep.
Yes.
Ed and Lorraine say, look, we'll help look after the house for you whilst you get some sleep. Lorraine does the washing, and Ed helps working on a Chevy that's in the garage. And Brad goes on duty, so he's been up for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Lorraine does the laundry at this point. She puts up the washing, and wind something comes over whilst the mum, Caroline, is sleeping upstairs in her bedroom. It gets really, really, really windy very quickly, blows off one of the sheets. The sheet hits an invisible object, looks like a person.
Yes.
Before that person dissipates, and the sheet keeps flying up to the bedroom window of the mum.
Yeah.
It falls down to reveal a crazy witch demonic spirit, which Lorraine can see.
Yes.
Lorraine runs up to the room, but not before that demonic spirit effectively possesses the mum, Caroline, sleeping in the bed.
Yeah.
By floating over and spewing something into her mouth.
Yeah.
By the time...
Which happens in Outcast a little bit. There's a bit of a...
Oh, yeah.
The series Outcast, there's a lot of this kind of spewy thing going on. Anyway, go
if
on.
you're going to possess somebody, you've got to spew in their mouth.
Yeah.
Lorraine knocks down the door, asks Caroline if she's all right. Caroline comes out of the bathroom looking a bit sleepy, as you do if you just had a nap. But otherwise she says, I feel fine.
Yeah.
Okay, that afternoon, Dad comes back. Ed is helping with his Chevy. Now, this is something that actually, because I'm going to add an extra note here, which will take us over. This is an interesting thing. There's one point where when they're first setting up the cameras, Ed is setting up a camera and Brad comes over and Ed goes, hey Brad, can you hand me a thermostat?
Yes.
And so when Ed works on the Chevy, he's talking to the father, Roger. He says, hey, do us a favour, hand this a wrench, will you? And I thought that, I remember thinking at the time, and I still think it now, that's an odd thing to say, because in real life, if you're working on something, you never say that. If you're working on your computer right now, and I say, hey, Paul, blah, blah, you don't say, hey, Aunt, hand me that spanner or that screwdriver. You just keep working. Unless both your hands are full and you need to work on something very quickly, then you'll say, Aunt, can you give me a screwdriver?
Yeah.
But you don't. You just grab the screwdriver and just keep working whilst you're talking to me. But it just feels like It just feels like a very movie moment. It's like that. You know, movies people don't hang up.
Yeah.
You know, people like in movies don't hang up the phone. They just hang up the phone. They don't say goodbye.
No.
Because you always say goodbye, but they don't do that because it's just a movie trope.
Yeah.
To me, that feels like a very movie thing to say.
Right.
I don't know, if I'm working on something and you've come over to see me and just want to talk, I'll just keep working.
Yeah.
But I don't go, hey, Paul, can you... If I'm working on my computer writing a script,
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, can you hand me that stapler? You know, and I just grab the stapler.
Yeah. So
Unless...
if it's a movie trope, what's it trying to do?
I don't know, it's just something to keep the conversation moving or something. I don't know.
I wonder whether it's to show that the person isn't engaged in the conversation themselves, because you're giving them a task to do, and then... So they're not necessarily... Like, who's he asking remind me...
Basically, it's Ed working on something, and then somebody walks past to talk to him.
But at this stage, is Ed convinced that the place is haunted or not?
Yeah, he's completely convinced, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know then. I was just wondering, because sometimes you just... Or is it that he's the kind of character, you could argue, is he the kind of character that needs to do something to kind of tune out a little bit? So that's kind of why he's, by doing a task like this, it means that he can just focus on that.
Maybe.
And so he's not necessarily listening to what Roger's saying and he's just focusing on...
Maybe he just likes people to feel included. It feels it feels like a master servant thing to say, particularly the way he says it.
Yeah.
Paul, do us a favour and grab that for us, will you? That's kind of how he said it.
I'm just trying to think, you're right, I often see that kind of dialogue in movies.
Yeah.
Have I ever heard it?
Do you say that? I never, well, maybe it's me, but I never do it unless I need you to physically give me a screwdriver because I'm about to die because my hands are full.
Yeah.
But that's like, Paul, give me a hand to carry this thing. Anyway, whatever. Sure. It's just a weird thing that occurred to me when I watched it, and this is why this podcast is going to go for 2 hours. Anyway, it is during this moment that Ed finally reveals to Roger and the audience that the last exorcism that they performed took a huge chunk out of Lorraine, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. Took a huge chunk out of her. That night, real shit goes really down at this point. So the Ghostbusting crew are sitting in the lounge room all with their equipment. Everybody's trying to sleep. The girls are sleeping downstairs. Brad, the cop, has this moment of whenever, there's only other movie I can compare this to, but when the guy in Poltergeist goes, I'm going to get something to eat, and goes to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Brad says, I need to get some more coffee, and goes to the kitchen. Yeah. So something bad's going to happen to Brad.
That's right.
So Brad goes to the kitchen and he discovers a character I called the Suicide Maid.
Yeah.
So he goes out the back and there's a rocking. Yep. He hears a noise out the backyard. Turns on the porch light and he sees the rocking chair on the porch light rocking. Mm-hmm. And then he hears somebody whisper to him, "See what you made me do." And then he goes out the back. And then you have another great visual James Wanism. A woman who looks kind of odd. And she's dressed as a maid from the 1920s or something. Mm-hmm. And then he sees her in the laundry. He goes after her. and she's not there, and then he turns around, and of course he hits him from the side and goes, "See what you made me do!" And she's got blood coming out of her wrists.
Yes.
So that's a big scare for him. That then suddenly he yells out for help. They all go to him, and he's like, "Oh, she was right here. She was right here." Then we see Jessica Chastain, otherwise known as Murph, otherwise known as Chrissy. I think her name is Murph. She starts sleepwalking again, and she's sleepwalking up the stairs, and all the cameras that are trained on the stairs start going off one by one. And then the father, Roger, wants to go and wake her up, and Ed goes, "Don't, it's not her setting off the cameras, because they're thermostat cameras. They go off because the temperature's gone down." And he's saying somebody's leading her up to the upstairs. And she goes into Andrew's bedroom, locks the door, and they can't open the door. And they all go into panic mode. They kick down the door, she's not there anymore. And so they don't know where she's gone. And then so using a UV light that Drew used to flirt with Andrea earlier, they discover her little footprints walking towards the cupboard, open up the cupboard, they realise there's a secret panel on the back of the cupboard, and they open up to find little Chrissy, Murph, is asleep inside the cupboard. And it's soon discovered that the little boy whose mother killed him in the 1930s, the little boy in the music box, he used that place as his hiding spot when he was alive. And the music box actually comes from that hiding space, because there's a little shelf there that's full of dust, and the music box fits perfectly on the shelf where there's no dust. Lorraine goes inside, and immediately falls right through the bottom of the cupboard straight to the basement of the house.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a hell of a fall, which probably would have killed her or severely broken her neck or leg or whatever.
Yeah.
But she lands, and she's got the music box with her, and she's hearing a voice down the basement whilst everybody tries to figure out where she fell. She's in the basement, she hears a voice, and she quite smartly uses the music box to discover over her left shoulder is a mother. And this is the mother from the 1930s, the ghost of the mother of the 1930s, holding a bloody knife over the body of the boy, her son that she killed, and she's crying and sobbing, "She made me do it, she made me do it, she made me do it." And that's when the spirit of the witch, Bathsheba, comes in and actually attacks Lorraine. She screams, she runs, she realises she's in the basement, she runs upstairs, but Bathsheba grabs her around the neck, grabs the little necklace that Judy, her daughter, gave her, and pulls that necklace off. She runs upstairs, and she says, I figured it out. Bathsheba is possessing all the mothers who've ever lived in this house to kill their children for her, because that's an offering to Satan. And she points towards Caroline, says she's possessing you. She's going to make you kill the kids. Then a third thing happens, which is one of the kids, which one is it? She attacks the nerdy kid, the second one, and throws her around the room by her hair. And Lorraine figures smart enough to think on the spot to grab a huge chunk of scissors, a pair of scissors, like fashion scissors.
Secateurs.
And cuts the kid's hair, which is quite dangerous because the kid was moving at the time. She's fine. And the kid falls down, and they go, okay, maybe that's proof enough to take to the Vatican that maybe this place needs an exorcism. Because they need to exorcise the house, is what they're saying. So, that night...
you're just realising as we're talking back over this that how much actually happens in this movie.
It's quite jam-packed.
So maybe that's why it resonated so deeply within cinema goers, is because it doesn't relent. There's just something happening, and it keeps up in the ante. And anyway, continue.
So, yes, exactly. So anyway, we go to the next day. The Warrens think, okay, we've got enough evidence to go to the church to go, you know what, this place needs to be exorcised. Lorraine is standing at the back trying to come to terms with what happened the night before. She sees an image of her daughter floating in the water, and she screams and tells Ed that this is an omen, that there's something going to happen to Judy, their daughter. And they go rushing back home. So the Warrens in this case pitch their case to the church. Father Gordon looks at it and goes, are they baptised? And they go, no. And he goes, well, nothing I can do.
Well, they've already given themselves to Satan, so why should I care?
My hands are tied. So, but he's like, okay, I'll see what I can do, because I'm just that good a fellow. Anyway, that night at the Warrens' household, basically Shiva and Annabelle, the doll, team up to scare the hell out of Judy. So Judy wakes up in the middle of the night, goes downstairs, finds the trophy room that she's not allowed to go into is open. The door to it is open.
Yeah.
She walks in, the case that Annabelle sits in is empty. Then suddenly, everything goes dark. Shadows creep all around her, and this big, loud thumping noise chases her into her father's study. She closes this door to her father's study, and there's a big banging on the door, scaring her, so she stands away from the door. Then she hears a creaky, creaky, creaky noise, turns around, really badly, because she's a kid, not a great actor, turns around, discovers Bathsheba in her father's rocking chair, holding Annabelle the doll and brushing Annabelle's hair.
Yes.
And they both turn towards the kid, and she loses her shit and goes, ah! Grandma wakes up just as the Warrens come home, and Lorraine's freaking out because she knows something's happening. And they realise the kid's locked inside the dad's study. The dad says, stand away from the door. She does. Kicks open the door just as the rocking chair goes flying at the kid. Dad grabs kid in the rocking chair, smashes into the corner of the door.
Yes.
In really bad CGI, if you look at it. It's a very clearly CGI rocking chair. And that's it. That's the attack. It's a warning. They could have gotten the kid, but they don't.
I'll get you next time.
Okay, so they all wait. They all sort of recover. The girl's crying. She's saying, Annabelle tried to kill me. And Ed goes back into the trophy room. It's still locked. He opens it up, and Annabelle's still in the glass case.
Yep.
So yeah, there you go. At this stage, Caroline and Roger have taken the family to a motel.
Yes.
Called Bates, which it wasn't called Bates. But it was a drive-by motel. The father had to go off and get some things. Comes back, and Andrea says, "Mum's taken Christine, the middle child, and the youngest child, April, and gone somewhere."
Yes.
And they don't know where. So Roger calls up Ed. Ed and Lorraine know what's happening. Lorraine says she's taking them back home to kill the kids. So they said, okay, we'll meet you there. So everybody rushes towards the home. They find the door locked.
Yes.
And this is where Officer Brad pulls a shotgun out of the back of his car and shoots off the lock. Because I think they made a bit of a joke that he couldn't shoot a ghost earlier in the film, and he should have had a one-liner there where he's like, oh yeah, I'll fucking prove this. Anyway, so he shoots up the lock. They find Caroline about to stab Christine with her pair of scissors.
That's right.
Through the heart. And they rip the trash off the scissors. Drew takes Christine and puts her in the car and says, stay here. Because April has disappeared. They don't know where she's gone.
Yes.
So they decide, okay, you know what? We got to find April. But meantime, the mum is struggling like crazy. She falls down the basement.
Yeah.
They wrench the scissors out of her hands, and they figured, okay, look, you know what? Let's just take her out of here. And as soon as I try to pull her outside the house, the witch won't let her leave, and so her skin starts to burn. Yanks her back out of their hands, right straight through down the corridor, back down to the basement again.
Yeah.
And she screams for Roger, Roger! So they run downstairs, and she's being thrashed all about the place, literally thrown by a malevolent unseen force.
Yes.
They hold her down. They come to the conclusion that they have to perform the exorcism right there and then. They can't wait.
Yeah.
The only person who can physically read out the words is Ed. Ed tells Lorraine to leave because the last exorcism almost killed her.
Yes.
She refuses to leave. She says, we're in this together. We've got to do it together.
Yep.
You go.
Yeah.
We go.
Yeah, basically. So Drew, meanwhile, is just running around the house looking for where the hell April's gone.
Yep.
So he's running around by himself. So he's thinking, okay, well, Drew's dead. Because he's all by himself. And then at this point, ravens and pigeons start flying to the house. Now, it's the middle of the night, and they start flying to the house left, right, and centre, breaking through the windows, which is unsettling because birds don't fly at night.
Yeah.
Because they usually sleep.
Yes.
So meanwhile, they're...
As you know.
As you know, yes. So the ones perform the exorcism. They do this really interesting thing where, trying to hold her down, Caroline bites Brad on the cheek and takes a huge chunk of his cheek out, so he bleeds everywhere. So to stop her from doing that, they put a sheet over her face, and they tie her down and then tie her to a chair. So she's a person who's tied up in a sheet, tied to a chair, so you don't see her face.
Yes.
But they hear her screaming and caterwauling and doing all sorts of noises. At one point, she spits blood in the sheet, and you just see the sheet just get caked of blood, but you don't see her face. So they put her down to a chair, tie her down. Ed goes to Lorraine, get my Bible from the car. She runs outside, gets the Bible, comes back inside. It's just a nice little beat in this crazy moment. And he starts reading out verses before you...
Ed's sitting down in the basement. We shall be back in a minute, I'm sure.
I'm really sorry. This is very emotional. So they start performing the exorcism, and shit starts to get real. She starts shaking about, wailing, crying.
Yeah.
Really lovely use of light here at this point, because there's a single light source above, which is a light bulb hanging by a rope. They knock that, and of course it starts throwing shadows all around the mum.
Yes.
And you see the shadows go all around her feet, and you start to realising the feet are starting to levitate.
Yes.
So she's levitating in the chair. At one point, she controls the shotgun, which Brad leaves in the corner, and it fires at Ed, which Roger, I think, is the one who knocks him out of the way.
Yeah.
But the demon only thought to use one shot, because after that, the shotgun is never used. I'm sure it has a few more shots in it. Anyway, at one point...
Stupid demon.
I know, you get more options. Anyway, so Caroline in the chair flips upside down, and the chair crashes.
Yep.
Freeing her from the rope and the white sheet. Her face tears out of the white sheet, and I see her face has been changed into that of a demonic, crazy woman.
Yes.
It's all going really, really bad. Caroline tells her husband that the family are basically already dead. And at this point, Drew finds April underneath the kitchen floorboards. She's hiding there.
Yeah.
So he uses a fire axe to actually cut a hole into the floorboards.
Yeah.
Finds her, says, I found her. He yells out in the house, I found her, she's in the kitchen. The mum, now Caroline, is free at this point, free of the ropes that bound her to the chair, runs underneath the cellar to try and find the daughter. They all try to run after her. They get into the situation where she actually gets her hands on the daughter, and the other two, Ed and Roger, can't get to her because the hole is too small for them to get through, but small enough for April and Caroline to get through. So they're fucked because Caroline's going to kill the kid. Yeah. And then suddenly Lorraine from above in the kitchen throws her hand down the hole that Drew had made and grabs Caroline by the top of the head and tells her to focus on that lovely picture that they talked about earlier, where it was the perfect day, they're at the beach and I took a photo.
Yes.
So think of that photo, think of that moment, think about what you'll be leaving behind and how that was the most perfect moment. And this conflict gets to her, and she then starts having an inner fight between the demon, and then she literally vomits the demon out of her, and she feels fine.
Yes.
So it took. And April's not dead. Yeah. She says, "I'm really sorry."
Fuck you, demon.
April's staring at her mum, going, "What the fuck?" And that's it. So and then Ed tells Bathsheba to go straight back to hell, and she does. During the final part of this.
All right.
So, having Carol spewed out the demon, it goes to the next day. It's daylight. As soon as they escort Caroline out the doors, all the bruises on her body disappear.
Yes.
The family come out and get reunited with her, and they all collapse on the lawn, hugging and crying. I think Drew says something to Brad about, "Did a demon do that to your face?" Ha 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 ha. And
he's so funny, isn't he?
And April gives Judy's necklace back to Lorraine. Because Bathsheba had it, and then Lorraine and Ed have a moment where you just know they're going to say, "This house is clean." But they don't say that, but it's effectively that. And
high five.
High five. Yes. So anyway, then they get cuts back to the coda, which is the end of the day. They go to the trophy room, and sure enough, Ed puts the music box as part of the trophy in the trophy room. Lorraine tells them that they finally have official permission to perform the exorcism, and Ed goes, "Cheers for that." And then she says, "We have another case in Long Island." And he goes, "All right." And they close the door and they talk about what this case could possibly be. Yeah. We cut to the music box, which starts spinning and spinning. You see the reflection in the mirror spin, and it comes to a stop, and cut to black. In credits. So that's the end of the film.
But what was in the mirror?
Yeah, no. So it was the whole, it keeps you tense, so you're going to see anything in the reflection, and you don't. So that is The Conjuring. Yeah. So Paul, thoughts at this point?
Yeah, so I think earlier I indicated that I wasn't that keen on the promo when I first saw it, and I didn't really get what the fuss was about. But when I finally did watch it, I was really impressed with it, and I do actually think it stands strong within contemporary horror films, and was assigned that James Wan was potentially somebody to kind of keep an eye on for within that genre moving forward. And I think we'll probably get on to talk about him in particular in due course. But yeah, I also feel like it's not just his direction. I think the casting is really good in this too.
Yeah.
from the main leads that are within the movie. The kids are okay within it, but I think it's held by the strength of the leads within it that help add to the drama of the piece.
Well, like I said, I mean, like it's a bit like Pride and Prejudice. Like any adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, you find
it's the bit where Roger comes out of the lake in that like wet shirt, and everyone's like,
but like there's 5 daughters, right, in Pride and Prejudice. Is it 5 of them?
Yeah, it might be more than that.
More, but in some adaptations it's just 3 because there's only 3 who actually do it into the plot.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like that. I'm sure because it was based on a real life family, they had 5 girls. Whereas if it was a story, you would have been told lose 2 of them because they don't do anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, particularly when you see the real Ed and Lorraine.
Yeah. Google it, kids.
And you research about them. This is really, I mean, the 2 actors, the Hollywoodized version of this couple.
Yeah.
Because they kind of look creepy in real life.
Yeah, they do a bit. They do look a little odd.
Yeah.
Imagine what would happen if people Googled us.
Daniel Day-Lewis will play me. I was told that. I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's because you keep going, no matter what happens, I will find you. You say that all the time.
I do, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't either.
We should talk about that. But anyway, so into
people
the film.
say I look like, what's his name? Oh, no, carry on. Adam, what's his face? Anyway,
Adam Levine.
No, fucking hate that guy. He's a wanker.
Oh, fucking wanker.
Fucking wanker. So that was kind of my initial reactions after watching it. I thought I was actually I think I ended up surprised because I went in kind of wanting to go against the flow of the people that said they loved it and going, no, it's fucking shit, you don't know what you're talking about. And I came out going, actually, that was really good.
Well, the interesting thing about it, for me, I mean, as a filmmaker, James, this is the first film that's shown to me that he had learned from his mistakes.
Yeah.
And he's triumphed with everything he'd done at this point, James Wan, and realised, okay, you know what, there is a particular science to what I do.
Yes.
And now I'm going to get it right. And this film really got it right, for the most part, I thought.
Completely.
But the interesting thing about it, this isn't a James Wan film. He was a hired gun.
Yeah, you were saying,
Which surprised me a little bit. The film itself had been written by 2 brothers who I think are twins.
Yes. And
they obviously did the thing of approaching a producer, and together they teamed up to find a director to make their film. And as in the Hollywood system, when you try to get a film made in the Hollywood system, it's about who you can get who are interested in the project, starting with the director and lead actors. And when James Wan attached himself to it, as what happens with these sort of things, and it's something that happens in advertising, the film goes to the director, and then you take the director's treatment.
Yes.
And the first thing James Wan says, I love it, it's full of scares, it's full of too many of them. And the writers went, you do realise this is a horror film? And he said, yes, you have too many scares. And he said, what do you mean by that? He said, too many scares, not enough tension.
Yes.
And they're like, So what James Wan did is he said, take out a lot of, it's about 50% of the scares. He said, take them all out, I'm going to replace them with the bits in between the scares that make the scares pay off.
Yeah.
And the writer said, oh my God, he's right. And he was. Which is an interesting way he approached it. That straight away was a lesson he learned, and that's the film that he wanted to make.
Yeah.
Then you go into the actual design of the film. Like, The Witch is a very James Wan looking witch. Or the ghost, even the ghosts and all that sort of thing. The way he just uses noises and light to scare you is very him. He's not unique to him, but it's something he does very
It's what I like about his films, though, is that it's I'm a man of simple tastes, and I do like seeing things like simple. I don't like this kind of convoluted extra stuff thrown on the top. You know, it is what it is, and that's why I think is partly the reason why this film is successful, because it leans on old school kind of techniques to really scare the shit out of you, and he does it well. Yeah,
he sets up the creep really well. When a girl's sleepwalking and lightly banging her head against the door, that's not a big effects budget. It's just creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
And so that's what he did. And so straight away he stripped it out, and it was a very good thing that he did, because it was. Yes. The house was a set. I mean, there's exteriors was real, but when you go inside, that's all a set, which is very impressive. And these days with film, you can, particularly with the proper movie.
I'm not surprised. Yeah. I mean, like, you're right. It makes it what they did with it really. They really excelled in making that feel like a believable interior to that house. But you'd imagine these days most interior stuff would be a set.
Yeah, well, it depends on. I guess for me, like we live in Australia, and there's a TV, the network that we work for has a soap called A Place to Call Home, and I was surprised at how much of that was actual sets. Because it's supposed to be set in countryside, and it looks very country.
Yeah,
and
it was awesome walking around that set.
Yeah,
it's really, really good.
Anyway, but here's an example of one of the things he did that. As a director, he basically wrote the film, which was the big exorcism scene. He came up with the idea of putting a sheet over Judy for most of that, so you never saw her face transform. So when her face tears through the sheet, it's suddenly a big shock.
Yes.
But everything else she does leading up to that, like spitting blood underneath the sheet, suddenly it becomes a blood-soaked sheet.
Yes.
It leaves you to your imagination as to what the hell is happening to her face.
That's right, yeah.
And it works very, very well.
And it comes back to something I've said time and time again in these podcasts. What makes things scary is the unknown.
Yeah.
When you don't know what the fuck's going on and you don't know what's causing those things, your mind, the brain can't... Yeah. And it's scary, man.
Yeah.
That's what's really good. And he's using those tropes.
Very well.
Yeah.
Use of light very well. I talked about this in my review for The Boy, which is an outstanding written review. But how do you make an inanimate object look really scary is you change the light around him, because it implies that they're moving without moving. And he does this really well with the exorcism scene. The shot of her feet before she floats, the light is just changing all around the feet.
Yeah.
And so there's movement even though there's no movement.
Yes.
And so when she does start to levitate, it's one of those things where if you've ever gone fishing and you put a fishing float in the water, and by fishing so relaxing, you've not done fishing.
I was laughing. Have you ever gone fishing, Paul? No.
So you know how when you kill a homeless person, when you go fishing, we put a float in the water. The thing of the float is a little thing that floats.
Yeah.
Funny enough, it's a bob. I think it bobs in the ocean, but the thing when a fish bites it sinks in the water.
Yes.
But because you've been staring at it for so long, your mind plays tricks on you. Which is the whole thing behind Bloody Mary, is that when you stare at your own reflection time and again, your mind doesn't actually recreate the same frame.
Yes.
If you think of your mind as a film projector, it actually recreates the old frame and fills in blanks.
Yes.
Which is why your face distorts when you play Bloody Mary and you think there's a demon there, which is not scientifically proven. What? So with the fishing float, because you were staring at this float bobbing in the water time and again, when it starts to sink, you think, has it started to sink, or am I just imagining that? Because you've been so used to seeing what could be an hour's worth of footage of a float just bobbing in the water. So with the same thing with this change of shadow on her feet, is she floating in the air? Is she not? Yeah, she is, but for half a beat, you think, oh no, she's not. What's going on? Yeah. So it's clever use of light, is what my original point was.
Yeah, no.
It's very clever.
It's good. Yeah.
So look, it's a good film. I think it borrows. There's a lot of Poltergeist moments, which again is stuff that you can't help but do because Poltergeist was set back in 1981.
Yeah.
But they work. I love those moments. I love the whole ghost busting setting up in a house and leaving microphones in. You and I have done it.
We've done it. Yeah, it's good fun.
You and I have left recordings in rooms and listened very intently to hear something come back.
Say something.
Say something, you piece of shit. Although it's interesting, in the age of digital recordings, you hear nothing, whereas back in the days we used to have cassette recordings, you would hear something because it's magnetic tape making noise.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
But I love all that. And cameras in rooms, it's all fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
I was just pointing out there. Apart from that, it was just the classic use of shadows and light. And it was like we talked earlier about the Amityville was really
that's right.
haunted houses were sweeping the world as a craze.
Yes,
because back then quite a lot of people believed, and there's not as many skeptics as there are today.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think there aren't as many believers?
People were God fearing. Particularly, we took in America, especially. Much more God fearing. Like you take an oath on the stand, you swear in the Bible. You say, "So help me God," when you become president of the United States. It's interwoven into their DNA as a belief in God, and because it was supposed to be a place for freedom of persecution of all religions, yada yada yada. So it was only the age of reasoning, which has been around for a while, but really when atheists became rock stars, like Christian. The fault setting for a lot of Americans was you're just a Christian unless you said you weren't.
Yes,
but when atheists became rock stars, when you had like the Douglas Adams of the world and Dawkins and Stephen Fry, and that these people articulate their point of view very well.
Yes,
it suddenly makes people go, well, guess I am too.
Yeah,
I can say it. So it's an age of reasoning, I think, and psychics in criminal cases have not had a great track record. There was a phase where crimes would have a psychic attached to it.
Yes.
In Australia, there's 2 famous cases about children, the Beaumont children,
Yep.
and I can't remember the other 2 girls were killed in Cronulla. And in both cases, particularly the Beaumont children, the psychic came in and said, and just threw the case,
That's right.
threw the case off into the wrong direction and set it back by decades.
Yeah.
So things like that. There's a backlash, I guess, which happens because society is never static. And I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that people now have arguments, like the world, particularly the Western world, is divided in believers, non-believers, left to right.
Yeah.
Gay marriage, non-gay marriage. It all falls along that dichotomy of
Yeah.
you're this or you're that. And,
Yeah.
and I think that's what it is. And looking at Hollywood, I think it's mostly filled with So I think that's probably why it is. You get more skeptics, you get more cynics.
Yeah.
Why that sort of seems to have disappeared. I myself am an atheist, but I go on ghost hunts with you and go in with a. I'm fascinated by the effect our ghost hunts have on us.
Yeah.
Without really seriously going in. No, it's definitely this or it's definitely that.
Yeah.
It's more the effect, and I think fans of horror a lot of them are about the effect.
Yeah.
Not looking into the actual implication. Like we can separate reality from
For sure.
This is a guy in a hockey mask with a machete.
Yeah.
You don't want anything like that in real life. We're not celebrating anything like that in real life, but
No.
the effect that has.
Yeah.
Why are we scared and why do we go back?
Yeah.
That's what we love.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm anti-gun, but if zombies really exist, I'd probably be pro-gun.
Yeah.
And same with vampires and shit like that.
Yeah.
So
Of course.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that leaves me as a person,
Yes.
because I'm not a believer in God or anything, but as you know, I've experienced something unexplainable that I can only put down to me seeing a spirit, because my brain just says I don't know what else that could have been. So I don't know where I sit, because I as I said, if it's a God no God thing, then. And it's an odd one too, because it's the whole thing of if we keep dying, if the human race keeps dying, people keep dying, I should say.
Yeah.
That would mean there'll be a bazillion ghosts in the world. But then, is that what reincarnation's about? Is reincarnation about?
Exactly.
It's whatever power or being that's out there's way of recycling us.
Yeah. Look,
anyway, I don't know. It's an odd one. Cool. All right. So So the only thing I was going to add to, because talk
about the cast.
Yeah, I like to talk about what they've done and what they do. So just keeping with the director James Wan, though, I just want to emphasise. People may know this, but just for the sake of podcasters who are coming into this afresh and may only know of The Conjuring, he's the guy that was behind Saw, did Dead Silence, Death Sentence, Insidious Chapter 2, Furious 7. From the Fast and Furious movies. The Conjuring 2, which is out as we are recording this, and he's set to do Aquaman.
Oh, is he?
As the director for that. So, and I'm going to list what he's produced as well, because I think this kind of then sets out why he's so closely associated with horror in particular, because he produced Saw 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3D, the final chapter. Annabelle he produced, which, as we spoke about earlier, was a spin-off from this. He produced a film called Demonic, Insidious Chapter 3, and a film called Lights Out, which is due to come out this year too. And he also is set to produce upcoming movies Mortal Kombat, MacGyver the TV series, which is coming back again, Annabelle 2, which we hinted at earlier, and Insidious Chapter 4.
Oh my God, there's a fourth one.
Yeah. So he seems like not that he's always attached to, I guess with the exception of Insidious and now Conjuring, essentially he starts the franchise before they become a franchise, and then he passes on the torch. But he's definitely, because of that, and because his producer attachment, he's certainly, and I was having a chat with you about this in the corridor the other day, about how is he the modern, or is he a good example of where horror is successful in modern cinematography and film history, because like you can go back to the likes of.
So you're saying is he a new Wes Craven?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, because we talk about Wes. We're talking about Wes Craven at the moment in our series of podcasts, and we're going to move on to John Carpenter, and we're hoping to talk about Toby Hooper as well down the track, and various others. And I'm just, these are all kind of pioneers that came out of the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, where they really honed their craft. Are we now looking at a modern equivalent in the form of James Wan?
Maybe, yeah. Look, I think he's. I didn't realise he was that prolific with the producing side. I didn't know he did Demonic. Demonic was okay.
Yeah, I've not seen that one, but I know you.
I'll let it to you.
It only just came out to rent this year, didn't it?
I think. I'd not heard of it. I literally saw the show.
No, I hadn't.
I thought, I'll grab that. And I was like, it was alright. It wasn't great.
It's one of those ones that I saw it on iTunes and I read the description of it and I kind of went, it doesn't actually sound that bad, you know. So you're right, but as I said, I can't judge the film itself because I've not seen it.
But visually, it didn't look like a James Wan film at all. In fact, it looked like it threatened to be. I think what it was a found footage film, and they decided to make it conventional last minute because of the way it was set up.
Right, okay.
Because there's a bunch of uni students going to the house and they're recording everything. Anyway, so what was the other film that you mentioned?
Lights Out's in there.
Lights Out, yes.
It's
Oh my god, best viral short film clip of all time. Love that short clip. That's great.
Do you think that will transition into a feature though?
The trailer for the feature is basically the short film.
Yes.
I think it's the same woman too, but she's in a factory. And I've got to say, I don't know why, but that scene is just nowhere near as scary as the corridor and the way it was shot. The short film is just infinitely better. Yeah. And I don't know it's because I know what's coming. But I look at the short film again. I've looked at the short film again recently and think, my God, this is really good. It's so good. And it is like, I showed, hello Lily. I keep talking about Lily, who I work with. I showed it to her at her desk the other day and she screamed. She had the headphones on and went, like literally, like, the whole office turned around. I loved it. Anyway.
That's cool.
Look, I think the thing about the franchising side of it, I'm guessing, I don't know how much. I assume he does have a hand, but the things I know, if you make a film and you franchise it out, and unless you've got an idiot of an agent, you have this option of staying with it or not. But you always have your name attached as EP.
Yeah, that's right.
Because a lot of these films have like 10 EPs.
Yes.
And it could be a case. Is it a case of him just having his name attached? He reads it and goes, "Yes, that's fine," or he's really hands-on. I don't know.
Well, you got to look at Sean Cunningham, who was the director of the original Friday the 13th, and that then spawned a franchise in itself, and his name is attached to all of them.
Yeah.
But what does he?
Yeah, what does he do?
What does he do?
Well, there's a good story of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
Because when Joss Whedon first pitched that, he was a nobody. It was his idea, and his idea for it was the TV series, effectively. Yeah. But getting into Hollywood, it was a production company called something.
Monkey Tennis.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Mutant Monkey Tennis. It was like that. Mutant Enemy is his.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But it was somebody else. Anyway, the husband and wife team that directed the movie, which was a big flop.
Yes.
But the thing is, they eternally own the rights to Buffy. And so they were going to reboot it as a series, and he had no say of it. They hired a film student to write the series. Or it was a reboot movie. Okay. And Joss had nothing to do with it because he sold the rights to them. And the movie didn't happen anyway. But the thing is, Buffy, which is eternally associated with him, it's not his. Right. So, because this movie company made it.
So I could be wrong, but I thought I heard rumours that there's going to be a new Buffy movie.
That might be it.
Coming about, which isn't associated with Sarah Michelle Gellar, I don't think.
No. It's a reboot. But it's I forget it's husband and wife team. I forget.
Okay.
But they're the ones who own it. They're the ones who are going to make it. Ooh. So look, that's interesting.
So that'd be interesting to see how that
comes about,
plays out. Yeah. Yes. Cool. So just very quickly, we'll kind of just rattle through the other players of the piece. Starting with Lorraine Warren, played by Vera Farmiga, who, as you nudge, wink, wink mentioned earlier, plays Norma in Bates Motel, the TV series. Yes. Which is what she's more commonly known as now. She's obviously coming back in The Conjuring 2. Yes. And people may know her from also know her from Up in the Air, which was the George Clooney vehicle.
Yes. I saw that recently for the first time.
It's good.
It's like Anna Kendrick. Like she's like babyface Anna Kendrick.
Yes.
She's still quite young. And I saw it. I was like, I get why people hyped about it after this film. It's really good. Yeah, it's a good film.
It is a good film.
It's a little heartbreaking too.
It is. She was also in The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas, which was a little kind of bit more of an indie kind of film that did very well. The Departed, she played a role in.
Yes, that's probably the one feature-wise. That and the one you like, Wicker Man, but not the remake, which you don't like.
She's in that, actually.
Yeah,
totally glossed that over.
So that's how much you liked it.
Yeah. And also, she played Detective Susan Bracker in Touching Evil TV movie, and series.
Oh, okay. I don't know that one.
No.
Okay, cool.
What did you think of her performance in this?
Yeah, look, the Warrens, again, as with a lot of these things, I come in going, oh, okay, based on a real life thing, I've seen the movie, then I Google. I pretty much Wikipedia any movie I see straight away. Whilst the credits are going up, to see if there's going to be a post-credit thing. But I did that with this film, and I saw the real life Ed and Lorraine and went, they look nothing like that.
Nah.
The real life, and we'll talk about him, but the real life Ed Warren looks like such a dodgy dude. and since they've since been, again, Age of Reason, they've been discredited. On Wikipedia, they're completely discredited as charlatans, effectively.
Right, they were, okay.
And
what's on that note, right? So the Conjuring 2, which is, as I said, out now, is based on the Enfield poltergeist.
Yes.
Which I am quite familiar with because
it happened down the road from where you live.
Yeah, it was next door. Excuse me. So the reason I mention that is because that particular incident was proven by them to be a fake.
Right.
Although there was another investigator on hand who,
from what I can gather, there were two
said it was true.
British investigators, and they got caught up in it.
Yeah,
and the Warrens came in the series I saw. The Warrens came in, and they weren't named as the Warrens as such because I don't think the series had rights.
No.
But they literally had one day.
Yes.
And they came in and it was like.
Yeah.
And the thing is that was fake. Those girls have since come out and kind of half confessed.
Yeah.
That they were kind of putting it on. And it seemed like it was.
Was that those photos? Is that the one with the photos of them
jumping.
looking like jumping?
And they're supposed to be them levitating. But you can clearly they're jumping off their bed. But I think the impression I got from that, in terms of the real life incident, is that it was a joke that kind of got out of hand.
Yeah.
I think, and so that's why the girls were committed to it, but not fully committed to it.
Yeah.
But I think possibly the ones picked up on that. I don't know. But yeah, look, I mean, this is the story I've heard. If you go to the full Wikipedia entry, it's just they've been attacked left, right, and centre.
Yeah, that's right. So it'll be interesting to see where James Wan goes with it.
Yes,
I'm presuming he's going to go more of the spiritual point of view rather than we've been cold.
Yeah, it looks visually like a lot of James Wan film. The cross is getting inverted, people coming out of the shadows. I mean, look, I'm going to go in thinking this is going to be great.
Yeah,
not thinking this is real. Let's go with the story. Let's see how it goes, and so on and so forth.
Cool. Cool. All right. So the other half of the Warrens is Ed Warren, played by Patrick Wilson.
He's great.
He's awesome, and he's like one of those guys that you look at his list of films, and he's notching up a fine kind of credit to his name there. Obviously, returning in Conjuring 2, he does appear in Insidious 1 and 2, so he is a regular for James Wan. He was in the film The Hollow Point. He played Lou Solverson in the Fargo TV series, which did very well. He played Arthur in Bone Tomahawk, which was the Kurt Russell horror vehicle that's similar to The Searchers, which if you haven't seen it, you fucking have to see it. It's very good. He plays Shaw's father in Prometheus.
Oh.
And he...
Oh, yes, he does. Liz Shaw. Do you know why she was called Liz Shaw?
No. Go on.
The third Doctor in Doctor Who's assistant was Liz Shaw.
I thought I knew that name.
That's what everybody thought it was a huge coincidence, but it was Ridley Scott named it after the first.
Oh, there you go. So he was. So the last couple of credits that I'm going to name for Patrick is that he was in Watchmen as Night Owl, and he was also in a film called Little Children.
Well, the Night Owl one was the first one I think I saw him in.
Yes.
He was also in the one where the girl castrates him, but doesn't. It's called. It's the one where he plays an online predator, and the girl who's recently come out as gay. What's her name?
I don't know.
It's a good film, but yeah, he's seducing an underage girl.
Okay.
And
I don't know if I've seen it.
And she knocks him out, and then she ties him down, and the big crux of the film, which is why I got an R rating, was that she castrates him.
Wow.
And she shows him. She has a video camera, and she shows him the video camera she's doing it, and she's hold still. I've only just learned this off the internet. And the big trick is, which doesn't get quite fully explained, was that she was faking it the whole time.
Right.
Because she just numbs the area, and she's playing back a videotape.
Ah.
And so he looks down, and then you can't really read the expression on his face because
Yeah.
But apparently, I read it in Wikipedia, I know it was fake, but then he gets up. Because he runs after her and sort of tries to kill her. Which at the time I'm thinking, good job, considering you had your balls cut off.
Yes.
But yeah, anyway, it's a good film, and I forget what it's called now.
Right,
but
well,
yeah, check it out. Yeah.
Google it. Okay, so looking to the Perrons, the family that are haunted. The lead, obviously, being Lily Taylor, playing the mother, Caroline.
First time I saw her was in the Ron Howard film with Mel Gibson, Ransom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was...
I didn't put that in here, but yeah, you're right. I forgot about that one. The first movie I saw her in was I Shot Andy Warhol.
Oh, right, okay.
Which was a little kind of indie kind of film, and I've liked her ever since. But in order of chronology, she played JoJo in Mystic Pizza. She played the part of Corey Flood in Say Anything. She also was Jamie Wilson in Born on the 4th of July, before then turning up in I Shot Andy Warhol. A big kind of turning point for her was playing the role of Nell in The Haunting. Which was,
that's a film I want to talk to you about, because that's a film that's in a big haunted house that gets everything wrong, because it's so effects laden.
Yes.
No.
Well, it's based on the original The Haunting, which is probably one of the best horror films of that kind, you know, with spiritual kind of ghosts, and are they really experiencing it, or is it all part of the mind?
Right.
Kind of thing. It's really, really well done. And then this came along, and I went, "You've just taken a giant shit on it."
But it was like, I remember it was CGI had just taken a big leap forward,
Yeah.
and morphing in particular.
Yes,
and
right.
every film at that point just had to throw CGI morphing effects into it. And I thought, yes, horror, it can make it look real.
Yeah.
And whilst it did look real from back then when you didn't know any better.
Yeah.
You were thinking, this isn't scary. This is just full on.
Yeah. That's right.
I remember the house being kind of cool though. Like
The house was cool.
The house,
That's right.
But it wasn't scary at all.
No. She would also play Lisa Kimmel in the series 6 Feet Under. Who would also crop up in a couple of other TV series like Hemlock Grove, Gotham, and American Crime TV
Is
series.
Hemlock Grove good?
I think it was only like a season long.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
I've seen it on the DVD shelves, and when I'm like desperate, I'm like, should I buy that?
And she's about to appear in as a character called Vern Sawyer in a film called Leatherface.
Oh,
which is the next instalment of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So there you go. Horror continues.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
She's got that look. She's got that kind of weird, kind of independent kind of...
She does, because when she was younger, she was really attractive, but wasn't classically... So, I mean, I have to say that, but it's one of the things when you saw her on screen, you're like, oh, she's really attractive.
Yeah.
But you just wouldn't pick it initially.
No, you're right.
Yeah, but...
Yeah. She was, I just remembered it too, wasn't she in High Fidelity as well, the John Cusack movie, as one of his exes?
Oh, was she? She would have been really young there.
When he goes
I haven't
back...
seen... I'm thinking something. I haven't seen High Fidelity. But
okay. He goes back and, like, basically, because the whole concept of it is that his partner's going to leave him, and he realises that he's been through a series of relationships and he's got this commitment phobia thing. Right. And he goes back to... over his meaningful relationships, or to him were meaningful, or where he may have wronged people, and then she's one of the ones that he goes back to.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure. I'd have to Google that. Shite, man. Okay, so the father figure of Roger Perron is played by Ron Livingston. He was in The Fifth Wave, which I think you've seen and thought was a bit of a turkey.
Yeah. It's Twilight with aliens.
He also played the role of Roy Phillips in Boardwalk Empire TV series. He was in the movie Dinner for Schmucks, The Time Traveller's Wife. Played the role of Jack Berger in Sex and the City.
He's a big TV actor.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, Alan Lowe in The Practice. Lewis Nixon in Band of Brothers was in the film Office Space. And way back when his film career started off, he played the role of Rob in the film Swingers.
Yes.
So he is one of those people that your face is... You just recognise his face. You go, I'm sure I've seen him somewhere. Yeah. In this movie, though, we didn't really touch on Lily's performance. I thought, let's go back to her. I just thought she was very good in that. In this film. That's all we need to say. Whereas with Ron, he's just the solid kind of father figure. Does he add much?
Unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot to do.
No.
He could have been that annoying guy who's trying to be too rational about it, but he doesn't. And he gets caught up with everything. And he seems to trust in the Warrens to fix things.
Yeah.
Which, in terms of moving the story forward, that's all you kind of need to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, you know, he doesn't. The thing is, I think if you gave him something more interesting to do, he'd probably be annoying. It's kind of a tough role from that point of view. But yeah.
Cool. And so, just rattling through the daughters that were in it, I think we kind of touched on some of these people, but the only ones I kind of highlighted were two of them. So one of them you've already mentioned, which is Mackenzie Foy, who plays Cindy. She's the 10-year-old Murph in Interstellar.
She's doing something now.
She also appeared in Twilight Saga: Breaking Dawn.
She's a kid.
1 and 2. Yeah,
I only know that from the promos because
somebody called Ren Smith.
I think she's the kid.
Right, I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, yeah.
And the other one was the other daughter I was going to mention was Nancy, who's played by Hayley McFarland, purely because she was played the role of Brooke Putner in Sons of Anarchy. And she's cropped up in a lot of like TV stuff like Lie to Me.
The one who's playing Christine, she's in something big now. I think if you Google it right now.
I will. While you talk about the daughters and their performances.
Andrea was the oldest one, and the youngest one was called April. That's all I know. But the one I remember seeing somewhere like, where's she from? She's just been announced in some movie, and then I had to Google her, and then I was like, oh, okay, she's.
Talk about
that film.
Talk about the daughters, and are they believable? Do they just?
Look,
I mean, you said
there's one like Nancy, the one with the glasses, is superfluous. She doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
The oldest one. Again, you could have probably gotten away with just 2 or 3, like I said, because Christine's the one who sees the ghost behind the door. Murph is the one who sleepwalks, and the youngest one is the one who sees the kid. And you kind of got the impression initially that the youngest one's the one that is the gateway in, because they want her soul or something.
Yeah.
But she only starts off the movie by finding the box, and that's all she does.
Yes.
It's another thing. And I think
that's true.
Partially that was based on which girls were affected the most in the real life incident, as they claim.
Yeah.
I think that may have dictated things a little bit.
Well, the young one probably didn't really remember much, apart from mum maybe going a bit psycho,
trying to kill her.
Daughters doing a bit odd stuff.
She bought her an ice cream.
So the role of Christine is played by Joey King, and I think the movie you're thinking of is Independence Day Resurgence.
That's probably it.
Because there looks like she's attached to a lot of movies that are about to either just completed or they're in post production. Like there's about 8 I'm looking at here, so she's been busy. But probably the most high profile one that I can see in that list is that one.
Yeah, she might be the love interest of the Hemsworth boy, possibly, because she'd be old enough now.
Yeah.
So, cool, man. Well, that kind of wraps up everyone that I was going to mention. So I'll pass it back over to you as hosting duty.
Is the patient still alive? Yeah, look, it's a good movie. He's done well, and this is. I think what the point up to this, he was doing films which were like, it had some good moments.
Yeah.
Had other moments, but this is one that was a solid hit all the way through.
Yes.
And you got the impression for me that this is a filmmaker that finally, by the act of doing, was really getting to a rhythm now.
Yeah,
and knows what he's about.
Yeah.
And has reasons as to why this works and this doesn't. Scaring people is a difficult thing.
Yes.
Because, like I said before, it's more difficult than humour, I think, even though everybody says comedy is the hardest thing to do. Because comedy is so spontaneous. But if it's ridiculous and makes you laugh, it makes you laugh. But scary, nothing. If something makes you laugh, it doesn't. Something that makes you laugh suddenly does not make you laugh.
Yeah.
Where scary can easily suddenly be stupid. Something scares you, but it can easily something become like, that's not scary, it's just dumb.
Yeah, which is like we were just talking about Tales of Halloween recently.
Yeah.
And a lot of that falls into that category when none of it's scary at all.
No.
And it's more quirky.
Yeah. It's trying to be quirky is a good way of putting it.
A bit odd.
That's the trick with horror. So it is a real craft to master.
Yes.
And I think he's
I've been reading a lot obviously because he's in the limelight at the moment with the Conjuring 2. But he was talking about how he is strangely averse to doing sequels. He doesn't really want to do sequels, and yet now this is the second time he's doing it, because Insidious being the first time.
Yeah, because Insidious 2 was him as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, but he kind of generally shies away from that because he was saying that he doesn't.
It's comedy.
Yeah, that's right. What I like about him, I think, is in another statement he said something along the lines of how he always wants to make the film a genuine experience,
and doesn't want to go for that kind of all-out kind of shock horror kind of stuff. And I think that's true to the films he's created. And I think because of that, that's why his films come across as realistic and and frightening, because he just kind of
sets up tension. Really
he's also a designer by heart, though, isn't he?
I think
a lot of stuff he does is which is why he's fascinated with puppets and stuff. Because from memory, I think he's really into that kind of design stuff.
He strikes me. Every director has a thing that they get really hands in. Some like the camera, some like the lighting, some like the writing, acting. You get the feeling with him because he has such a look, a physical look to a lot of his films. That you get the idea that he grabs a pencil and goes, "No, make it look like this." Like that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So like I think the reason I'm saying that would mean that, and I'm guessing because I don't know the guy, but it would mean that he's very kind of meticulous about the look and feel of the film, as you said, which again I think lends to it being feeling like it's in that lends to the realism of the movie, and grounds it more because of that. So
gritty is a good word.
Gritty is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. So I do think that. It wasn't until I was rewatching the movie and thinking about his career that it literally came up in my mind when I bumped into the corridor, and I literally was like, I'm starting to feel like he's actually putting together a fine collection of horror films. I mean, they're not always hits, don't get me wrong, but like as each one comes out, I feel like he's really honing that craft and they're getting better. So
I'm very curious to see the sequel, which I might see tonight. The other thing too, I just want to mention briefly, because Saw was the one that launched into the world, right?
Yes.
Saw, which he did with
Lee
Winnell. And Lee Winnell worked at Foxtel, worked here.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I think he did. And they were both TV1 guys.
Okay.
So they worked.
TV1, far out.
I think they worked in the same sort of subscription TV that Paul and I work in, and they took a punt and pitched an idea to Hollywood, and it worked.
Wow.
So I'm a big fan of both their careers because they took a shot and it paid off.
Yeah.
And Lee Winnell I actually like as a writer too.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like I imagine we'll get to talk about the Saw franchise and maybe even Insidious down the track too. Particularly if the fourth installment comes out, might warrant us to go back and look at those ones. But yeah, no, all good, man.
So yeah, look, signing off. This is the Surgeons of Horror podcast. This is your lead surgeon, Ant, the Big Cheese Yee, and this is also goodbye from Paul Farrell.
Hello.
I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to a Surgeons of Horror podcast. The Conjuring. Music supplied by Peter Nezik. For more discussions or podcasts, head over to surgeonsofhorror.com or head over to our Facebook and Twitter sites for the latest news and updates.